This is your News Source Evening Bulletin for today, Friday, the 11th day of January in the year 2019. Here's what we're tracking tonight. Details of the letter dispatched to the Canadian High Commissioner to Guyana are being revealed and point to the government of Guyana accusing both the High Commission and Canada itself of being complicit in an effort to topple the Guyana government. In the strongly worded letter, Foreign Affairs Minister Carl Greenwich fired off at the Canadian High Commissioner over the involvement of the High Commission's consular officer in escorting former Member of Parliament Charandas Prasad, who is a Canadian citizen, to the airport and to the stairs of a Liat plane the morning after his no-confidence vote against the government. The foreign minister said the consular officer had no official reason to assist the exit of Prasad following his vote against the government he served. According to the minister, it is the view of the Guyana government that a unilateral act of the Canadian High Commission official was a violation of the Geneva Convention and of the diplomatic and consular relations. He added that evidence suggests that the High Commission and by extension the sending state are complicit in an attempt to overthrow a sitting government, which was democratically elected. The foreign minister noted that his ministry is unaware of any consular functions which the Canadian High Commission consular officer was performing at the date and time in question, adding that the ministry is also unaware of any threat made on the person of Charandas Prasad that would require Mr. Bellevue, the official, to exert consular protection. Additionally, the foreign minister said there were several acts of omissions by the diplomat, and those are believed to have been part of a plan to bring down the sitting government. The Canadian High Commission official was also accused of being in the company of known criminal elements in Guyana, while he offered protection to Charandas Prasad. It is believed that outside of the Canadian High Commission official and PP advisor Peter Ramsarup, at least two other men who have been linked to death squads in the past provided security escort for Charandas Prasad to the airport while he was in the company of the Canadian government official. Earlier this week, the foreign minister summoned the Canadian High Commissioner to Guyana, Lillian Chatterjee, to a meeting at his office and made known the government's concerns to her in person. The Canadian High Commissioner has refused to comment on the escort of Charandas Prasad using resources of the High Commission and its diplomatic clout, and she has also refused to offer comment on the meeting with the Foreign Affairs Minister. More news coming up in just a moment.
Ready to ride it, ready to ride it, ride the wave. Open up the new vibe, drink up the boldness inside. Radical and fresh and wild, catch the wave now. Ride bold, ride fresh, ride strong, come on, ride the wave. Taste the action, satisfaction, perfection. Wave it, wave it,
Ride the new wave of excitement sweeping Guyana. Wave Pale Ale, a premium, full-bodied, strong and refreshing alcoholic brew, crafted to perfection for a bold, young, radical you. Don't settle for anything less. Catch a Wave Pale Ale and ride it today.
Wave Pale Ale.
Crafted to perfection.
Roam like you're home, because prepaid means more with GTT. Travel to any GTT roam zone in the US, Canada, Caribbean, Latin America, or South America, and pay the same great rates to use your data from foreign as you do when you're home. With GTT, prepaid means more, so roam like you're home with GTT, Guyana's preferred roaming network.
Welcome back. Well, hours after meeting with opposition leader Bara Jagdeo on Wednesday, President David Granger assured the staff members at the Ministry of the Presidency that the President and the government will remain in place. According to the President, there will be no closing down of the office of the President since the government has to govern and the National Assembly has to make decisions. He said both sides are working to ensure that there is no disorder, no breach of the Constitution, and that everything will be done legally. Mr. Granger told the staffers that they could be assured that the government is following the Constitution.
Both sides are working to make sure that there's no disorder, and there's no breach of the Constitution, and that everything is done in secret. So rest assured that we are following the Constitution. The Constitution says clearly, even though the government has to resign, I remain president until the next president is sworn in. I remain president until the next president, and the government will remain the government until the next government is sworn in. So everything is being done in the Constitution. That's why we've gone to the court. There are three branches of government. The legislative branch, which passed the law constitution. The executive branch, which has to run the country. And the judicial branch, which interprets. All that has happened is we've gone to the judicial branch to interpret whether the decision made by the legislative branch is a correct one. If the court said yes, it's yes. If the court said no, it's no. But the three branches are separate and distinct.
President Granger said the government remains in good hands and the government will abide by the Constitution and there will be no disorder. The government has moved to the courts seeking a number of determinations with regard to the no-confidence vote. The opposition wanted the government to withdraw the cases, but the president has refused to do so. Given the recent political developments which could see early general and regional elections in Guyana, the Guyana Trades Union Congress believes that it is imperative for the government and the opposition to meaningfully engage civil society groups if the concerns of citizens are to be addressed. In a statement, the GTUC said it looks forward to broadening of the national conversation with the involvement of civil society, adding that it is time to meet with civil society, the representatives of the people whose lives are to be directly affected by what's happening. The union called for respect of the Constitution, particularly Article 13, which outlines the principal political objective of the state that mandates an inclusionary democracy. Meanwhile, the GTUC lauded the efforts of the government and the opposition to meet and to hammer out issues related to the recent passage of the no-confidence motion in the National Assembly. With the possibility of early general elections, the two sides met on Wednesday to discuss several critical issues, including the functioning of the government and the legislature and the preparedness of the Guyana Elections Commission. The engagement was facilitated even while the government has filed legal actions in the courts, challenging the outcome of the no-confidence vote. The GTUC said the meeting between the two main political blocs was a step in the right direction, since it opened the door for continued dialogue and presented an opportunity to demonstrate political maturity. Still in the world of politics, the two major political blocs, the governing APNU-AFC coalition and the opposition People's Progressive Party, have confirmed that they are in preparation for the eventual hosting of regional and general elections. Chairman of the APNU and Minister of State Joe Harmon appeared on a state TV talk show on Wednesday and made it clear that the coalition is not afraid of elections.
We believe that wherever time is called for these elections, that we will be ready for them. And so this is how we went into that mindset into the meeting that said there is nothing that the government is afraid of. We are not afraid of early elections. We are not afraid of what the court will determine. Either way, we are prepared to accept a final ruling of the court, and we have submitted ourselves to the jurisdiction of the court, as well as the final status, which is in fact our Constitution.
President David Granger was recently unopposed for the leadership of the People's National Congress, which is the largest party in the coalition government. He was confirmed to be the returning presidential candidate for the coalition, despite his recent cancer diagnosis. The president is currently undergoing treatment, and his doctors have said he will make a full recovery. For the PPP, it's no different. The opposition party, which spent 23 years in government, demitting office 3 years ago, has indicated that its preparations are moving apace.
But we have started our preparation. We'll be ready for nomination day, which will be in the first couple of weeks of February. We are already starting to discuss not just our presidential candidate from tomorrow. We'll have presentations from the five. We will move swiftly. We have already been We have already started to work on candidates for the regional at the regional level for the geographic list and also for the national top-up list.
Opposition leader Barrett Jagdeo. Mr. Jagdeo also stated that his party has started working on candidates for the regional level and for the national top-up list. Meanwhile, the PPP has also launched a search for its presidential candidate. The 5 presidential candidate hopefuls spent the past 2 days at an internal party meeting, making presentations about themselves and their eligibility for the role. Those 5 are Gil Teixeira, Dr. Vindya Prasad, Anil Nandlal, Frank Anthony, and Irfan Ali. And finally tonight, on the same day that Nicolas Maduro was sworn in to serve another term as president of Venezuela, the Permanent Council of the Organization of American States adopted a resolution to not recognize the legitimacy of Nicolas Maduro's new term, which began yesterday. Guyana was among the 19 OAS members voting in favor of the resolution. In terms of CARICOM, the countries supporting the resolution were Guyana, the Bahamas, Haiti, Jamaica, and St. Lucia. They have all agreed not to recognize the legitimacy of the Maduro presidency. However, Dominica, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Suriname voted against the OAS resolution. Grenada was absent from the vote, while 5 other CARICOM states abstained from voting. Those that abstained from voting for or against the resolution from the CARICOM area were St. Kitts, Nevis, Trinidad and Tobago, Antigua and Barbuda, Barbados, and Belize. Guyana is home to the CARICOM headquarters and has seen heightened tension and threats from Venezuela since Maduro came to power just after the death of Hugo Chavez. On the advice of the United Nations, Guyana has moved to the International Court of Justice for a final settlement of the border row case. Venezuela has already said it does not recognize that court. Just recently, the CARICOM Secretariat issued a statement in support of Guyana, following an incursion into Guyana's waters and interception of an Exxon research vessel by the Venezuelan Navy. Many CARICOM states, while supporting Guyana, have also kept close ties with Venezuela because of their past and current dependence on Venezuela's oil. The OAS resolution urges all of its member states to adopt, in accordance with international law and their national legislation, diplomatic, political, economic, and financial measures that they consider appropriate to contribute to the prompt restoration of the democratic order of Venezuela. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for today and this week. I'm Gordon Mosley, reporting.